Untitled Beatles podcast.
Let's go track by track, huh?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Starts off with the lead single, Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth. This is perhaps like one of his greatest songs, if not his greatest song. I don't know. That's a matter of your opinion, but I've always loved this song. I don't know how you could not like this song. There's something that's so... I don't know. It's the message. Give me love, give me peace. It's like, well, how could you be against that?
And even if you are against it, Tony, his guitar playing on this is so great.
It's sublime, man.
Yeah, and listen, I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. You go.
Well, I had $1 million, but I'd spend it all.
Yeah, so this was a number one hit.
Deservedly so. It feels like the 70s. This song feels like and this is before you or I were born.
Yeah.
But I will associate this song with what a sunny day in the 70s would have felt like.
Give me love, give me love, give me peace on earth. Give me light, give me life, keep me free from birth. Give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load. Trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul.
Yeah, this song is nostalgic for me. It puts me in the place. I always mention this place, but it's in the back seat of a Buick Skylark or a Plymouth Volare, if we're going earlier. Listening to the radio with my parents, who were either driving to Iowa or just driving around town doing errands. But this song was on the radio, man, and you heard it in a tinny way because we had a crappy, AM. I think we just had an AM. No, the Skylark had an FM. But the Volare was just AM. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like this song, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's also playing a role in my love for the song and how I'm like, I don't know how you could not like this song. It's just a good feeling. It's a good message, and it's played well. Like you can tell in his time since All Things Must Pass, his slide playing has gotten tremendously better. Not that it was ever bad to begin with. It just got better.
No question. He's able to play slide guitar in a way that, especially on this record, it doesn't have the Marwa Blues Hawaiian feel, which is also lovely. Mm-hmm. This feels like blues slide guitar.
Yeah, it's
something no one else can play, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it doesn't feel Hawaiian, but it's also not like Bottleneck style. It's his own. It's his own. It's like a combo of that, which is his. It's just pretty and it's signature.
Well, and the way the song ends has always given me chills because it ends on, it's like a minor 7-chord strum as it fades. Mm-hmm. It's a great ending. Yeah. It just kind of, the song ends and you just kind of start strumming that minor 7. It doesn't resolve.
Right.
And it's
a cool trick.
Yeah, and it's not just a cool trick. It's a spiritual trick. Give me love, give me peace on earth. I'm ending in a way that's open, not closed. The song resolves, it ends. Mm-hmm. The song fades into being open. That's a very George thing.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, because the lyrics pertain to reincarnation of sorts, wanting to live free, of reincarnation, wanting to just be in life or something like that. Maybe that's how I'm interpreting it. And I get it. Like, I mean, if you were born George Harrison, why would you want to be reincarnated? You're either going to come back as like Ted Nugent's love child or a chicken destined to be a McNugget or a chicken destined to become roasted to perfection at Kenny Rogers Roasters. Order the new Kenny Rogers family pack. A side order of Santa Fe street corn is what I recommend. Teacher says, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare chicken. Yeah, I think that's what that song's about.
I think you're probably right. Yeah. In your Manila neighborhood.
Yeah, coming soon.
These are the people in your Manila neighborhood. In your neighborhood. Kenny Rogers Roasters employees. I hope they're being paid more than minimum wage. I do hope they are. They need to be paid well.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's all over the East, the Far East. You used to say. I don't know what Asia. We'll just call it Asia.
Well, you're a Far East man. Another George song I absolutely love.
We'll get to that next year.
Right, and not on this record. Here's something interesting. I read in Bruce Spizer's book about the solo years, the single is the same take, but it's sped up.
I read the same thing.
Mastered faster. I have this 45. I've never been able to tell the difference.
They said it's mastered to run faster than the album version to brighten it up for radio.
Yeah.
So if you're playing along to the album, you put the capo on the 3rd fret and it's in the key of F. If you're listening to the single, then you put it on the 3rd and a half fret since it's faster.
3rd and a half fret. Favorite fuck, I can't think of it.
That's a good I remember 3rd and a half fret. They were that Right Said Fred tribute outfit that played locally in northern Leeds mostly.
I'm too sexy for this fret. Okay, let me ask you a question. Have we talked about this before, the B-side?
I don't know.
Of I'm Too Sexy?
Oh, I don't know what's on the B-side of that.
I bought it for this reason, and it was I'm Too Sexy in Spanish.
Oh, wow. Estoy demasiado, sexo?
He said, soy tan sexy, is what he would sing.
Oh, tan sexy. That means like I'm as sexy, right? I thought tan was like an equal word.
Soy tan sexy que mi amor, tan sexy que mi amor va a abandonarme.
Allow me and my high school Spanish expertise to jump in real quick. The hook of the song translates to, I'm so sexy that my love, so sexy that my love is going to leave me. It should be noted that later in the song he also sings, Soy demasiado sexy en el baile, which roughly translates to, I'm too sexy on the dance floor. Something I absolutely would have learned to say in high school Spanish.
At one point he goes, and I don't understand why, the guy goes, Soy tan sexy for Milan, New York y Japón.
Japón. Japan, yeah.
It was very funny hearing him go, New York y Japón. I bought it for that reason in 91. I'm like, ooh, I'm Too Sexy in Spanish. I don't have it anymore, but it made me laugh so much circa like
what? You sold
college.
That one back? How can you sell that one back?
When I graduated college, I got rid of so many records. I saved every Beatles thing, but yeah, like what am I going to do with Duran Duran Rio? It's 1998. I wish I'd held on to so much of that stuff.
I get it, man. There's there's some I'm trying to rebuy now that I sold for financial reasons back in the day.
Eric Spitznagel, friend of the program. You know Eric, right?
I guess I do. Hi, Eric.
He wrote a book called Old Records Never Die, where he goes and searches for old records he used to own.
Yeah. And that's why they're now all like $35 at the record store now. You know, the ones that used to be $5. It's
Dude,
like, oh.
I love you, Reckless. Please don't make me pay $25.99 for a very good copy of Synchronicity. 5 years ago, this was $7.99.
Yeah,
my guy.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the one thing in a time machine. That's what I would do. I would buy all the $4 records.
Ooh, this is pretty cool. A good plus copy of Tattoo You, $16.99. Are you kidding me? This is $3.99 in 2012.
Yep.
Okay, but we love you, Reckless, and we love you, everybody.
We love you,
everybody.
Squeezebox.
We got pages of the dope stuff, so in the record store you can't pass by us. Get the album, hear the music, and hold on so you just don't lose it.
Give Me Love will always hold a special place in my heart. It was my father's favorite George Harrison song. He loved this one.
Yeah.
And this is one that I think he performed beautifully on the tour with Eric Clapton. It's a nice moment on that tour with Clapton and his band. It gets a nice recognition when he plays the intro of this. one of the best George Harrison songs, Beatles or solo, ever written. And it starts off the album on such an optimistic, peaceful note, and then you get punched in the nuts with bitterness immediately after. I'm not saying it's a bad song. One of my favorite songs on the record. But it's a tone shift, my friend.
I agree. I thought this was a very curious choice to even have on this album, because it's perhaps the only song that can't be tied to anything spiritual. Even the ones that are more like love. There's a lot of like, is this for a woman or is this for a lover or God? Anyway, this is actually my least favorite song on the record.
Okay.
Sue Me, Sue You Blues is the song.
When you serve me and I'll serve you, swing your partners, don't get screwed. Bring your lawyer and I'll bring mine. Get together and we could have a
First given to Jesse Ed Davis in 1972. There's a square dancing structure to the whole thing. It's swing your partner round and round. Did you have square dancing in school growing up?
Yes, I did. We had to do square dancing. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It was like freshman year of high school only, I think. I don't remember doing it in junior high. Maybe freshman and sophomore year. I thought it was the most peculiar thing.
Yes, some guy would come into the gym and you'd play a 45 and you
it was
yeah.
weird.
For us that might have been middle school for me, but yeah, I don't know if people do that. Do people still square dance?
That's a good question, and it made no sense to me too. I'm like, where are the honky tonks in suburban Chicago? I mean, in Chicago you had Carol's.
Yes, still do. I believe Carol's still going strong. Yeah.
Carol's, Freudian scarrels, I called it. Because if you've been there at 4 a.m.
4 a.m, yeah.
It's a scene. There's no roadhouses around. But anyway, there's this like roadhouse quality to the snaky guitar line. I feel like Patrick Swayze's bouncing this song. He's in the corner like.
It's smarmy. Yeah, it's a smarmy tune, Tony. But what he's saying, first of all, the playing, Nicky Hopkins piano, Jim Keltner's drum patterns. I don't believe this is Ringo in this track. We love you, Keltner. Ringo. I don't believe. Yeah, Ringo's not playing these fills. These fills are incredible.
We're gonna play the Sue Me, Sue You blues. Gonna play the Sue Me, Sue.
I feel like this is his most Plastic Ono Band moment. I feel like this is a
I found out.
Yes, this is I found out. I mean, some of the nasty piano at the top, bring your lawyer and I'll bring mine, get together, we can have a bad time, is the second fucking couplet in here. 30 seconds later, he sings, all that's left is to find yourself a new band. I mean, this is a middle finger. He mentions John and Paul in a sweet way in the title song on this album. This is not a sweet reference to his time with the Beatles. I mean, how many songs talk about joint escrow?
I was going to say, I think it's one of the few Beatle-related songs to feature the word escrow.
Even the McCartney compilation for Fidelity Investments in 2005 didn't have any songs about escrow. I've got that CD, by the way.
Must collect all the
records. It was given by a friend who did marketing for Fidelity, of my dear friend Melanie in the 2000s. So I didn't buy it, but I do have it. It has taken away with the actual single edit. At any rate, think about how George struggled with and commented on money throughout his entire career.
Yeah.
I mean, on record, Taxman.
5% appear too small. Be thankful I don't take it
all the conflict he had coming with My Sweet Lord.
The judge also was funny talking to my attorney just last week. He said, well, actually, I like both of the songs. My attorney said, what are you talking about? You said it was the same song. And the judge said, what I really mean is I like the same song with the two sets of lyrics.
It resulted in this song, which is upbeat with bitter lyrics on the 33 1/3 album.
This song, in black or white, and as far as I know, don't infringe on anyone's copyright song.
struggled, Handmade Films lost money. He struggled with Dark Horse was going to be under A&M, and then he had trouble, so that's when went to Warner Brothers. He sang about this cockamamie business. George constantly fetched about money.
Yeah, man. Well, it's interesting, his approach, I would say, because a lot of this is stemming from, it was Paul's decision to sue the rest of the Beatles in the high court to get out of the contract with Klein and all that.
After he'd been treated like shit for a year and a half, yes.
Yeah. But at the time, this is that time, and Paul's seen as the bad guy because he's suing the other Beatles. This is how George reacts. John reacted when it happened, when the judgment went down and the Beatles, the rest of them, Paul won. John reacted by throwing 2 bricks through the windows of Paul's St. John Wood's house. So you got to play it again because it's 2 bricks, TJ.
I was about to, my man. Rule of 2 bricks.
So whereas John is doing his Primal Scream version of reacting, George is putting it on the record, legitimately, figuratively, and literally on the record by saying, Sue Me, Sue You Blues. Recorded at Apple, George is playing in dobro and open E, and the UK cassette opens with this song.
I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Hello, Discogs. Wow.
Yeah, man.
What an interesting, that changes the whole album to open with this and not the sunniness of Give Me Love.
Yeah.
What a different experience.
Completely. I think it was a contender to open the record up. I find that to be a very peculiar, makes no sense to me.
I love this song the way I love John's Confessional Moments. I'm not listening to this one a ton, but it impacts me emotionally knowing the Beatles story, and I think the playing is great.
Yeah. Third song is The Light That Has Lighted the World. Another one that was originally intended for someone else, Cilla Black, who's trying to think of something to write for her. What do they have in common? It was both this we both came from Liverpool and we both made it big and have to deal with fame. This is a song about fame. Local boy/girl makes good, he says in I Me Mine. Our slate today, I Me Mine.
I Me Mine, yes. I'm on that page right now. But he later gave this to Irene Cara for the Fame soundtrack.
I can catch the moon in my hand. Don't you know who I am? Remember the light that has lighted the world.
George says the strange thing about change is that people are always saying, oh, he's changed, as if change is a sin. But the whole of life is a change, from morning to evening, from spring to winter, birth to death. Life is change. So it's funny how people won't accept change, preferring almost to change nature itself. Would they rather everything were stuck in one place forever? I agree, George. I agree.
You know who knew when it was time to change? The Brady kids.
Stick around. I got a Brady reference coming up.
Beat your Brady reference.
Autumn turns to winter, and then winter turns to spring. It's not just the season, you know it goes
for everything. It's even true for voices when boys begin to grow. You gotta take a lesson from Mother Nature, and if you do, you'll know.
When it's time to change, then it's time to change.
What do you think of this song? It's like melancholy, it's down-tempo. There's a lot of down-tempo songs on this record, which is, I think, a reason why this album hasn't gravitated towards me. And maybe it will now that I'm getting old and mellowing out or whatever, and I'm not spiritual yet, but maybe I'll get there with this record.
Yeah, this is not one of my favorites. What I'm most taken aback by is the similarity to Jealous Guy.
Oh.
I feel like in Nicky Hopkins playing the piano
Right.
on this has that very kind of ethereal feel. Jealous Guy is an immeasurably better song. How come TJ don't call it Child of Nature like the real fans do?
Because Child of Nature had dopey lyrics.
How come TJ didn't call it On the Road to Rishikesh?
Oh, I agree with that. You should be calling it that. That way no one will know what you're talking about
Like,
in the real world, in
like
the
a lot of
material world.
My material. We'll get to Madonna later. Oh, wait to hear those notes. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that he says in the song that is a lyric I haven't played the song 100 times. I don't know this one intuitively, but the one lyric I really heard for the first time when I was living in this was, "So hateful of anyone who is happy or free. They live all their lives without looking to see."
So hateful of anyone that is happy or free. They live all their lives without looking to see the light that has lighted the world.
It's interesting that he says so hateful of anyone who is happy or free is as strong of a lyric on an album of strong lyrics as I can point out. I mean, is he singing about himself? Is he singing about what it feels like to be somebody? I mean, it's a very revealing moment.
Yeah. And when he hits the word anyone, there's that diminished chord in there.
Yes.
So hateful of anyone that is.
There are so many songs that have either a diminished chord or an augmented chord in here, or like add 7, add 9 chords or whatever.
Yeah, so like a suspended. Yeah, I've got a bunch of those notes written down too. Yes, it's a musically adventurous album that, because it's so well recorded, is very prominent and audible.
Yeah. Yeah. And George, I mean, he used one of those in Old Brown Shoe. Like, he's not afraid to use those weird chords, man. And I know John also comes up with strange John Lennon chords or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel like George uses them with more, I don't know, frequency, I suppose, or aplomb, if we're going to use that word.
Yeah, but you leave out Paul. I played the wrong chord. I don't even care. Yeah, I'm a wrong chord player.
I'm a wrong chord player.
I'm a wrong chord player. I'm a wrong chord player. Here comes one now.
Yeah. Not my favorite on the record, but also not my least favorite on the record. I like this song all right. Yeah. Yeah.
My note initially is, now it's religious. Take it, Tony.
Yeah, I have very little to say about the spirituality thing on that. Next up is Don't Let Me Wait Too Long. This was up for the single, right? This is going to be the second single in theory, right?
I think they even gave it a catalog number.
They did. They did, sir. Catalog number Apple 1866. Yeah, an acetate and U.S. catalog number was assigned. Apple 1866. Good year for apples, so I've read.
Best year. If any of you have those in your basement. Apples from the 1800s. This is one that is one of my favorites. I'm surprised it wasn't a single. This to me has hit written all over it.
Yeah.
It's a great song, and this has a Phil Specter-y production with the use of the timpani.
Yes. Two drummers.
Yes. Which makes it work really nicely. The lyrics are simple, only you know how to dry up all the tears I've cried. He could be talking about God, he could be talking about a woman, it doesn't matter, the song's so joyful. A little bit like a Waiting on You All. I prefer my George spiritualism upbeat and sunshiny.
Yeah, I mean, right? As opposed to preachy and
And ballady.
And ballady. Yeah, this is a great song. If I recall, this one made my cut for our Fantasy 1973 Beatles albums.
Right.
Players number 6, of course, was my... I'm always promoting this fucking record that doesn't exist.
You're very proud of that. Is it on Matador Records, Tony? What are you so thrilled about?
Yeah, it's a Matador Capitol reissue from the 90s when they paired up, when they got into bed for a minute.
Cool.
Yeah, I think this would have made an amazing single. Some people speculate that it was withdrawn perhaps because it was musically similar to a song by McGuinness Flint called When I'm Dead and Gone. I mean, you don't want to get sued by McGuinness Flint. He's going to stick Lieutenant Pigeon on you. Yeah. And then you've got your Hanna-Barbera. What was the band they were in? With the Fleetwood Mac.
The Go Your Own Way.
Yeah, the Go Your Own Way gang.
Gang.
You got McGuinness Flint, Lieutenant Pigeon, Huckleberry Hound. And they're singing Fleetwood Mac songs on a cartoon bus that turns into a thermometer or a carousel.
Or a marshmallow. We don't have to, if this might be too sad to put on air, but did you hear about Lieutenant Pigeon's wife? For real, did you hear?
No, I didn't. What happened?
She died. And now it's Lieutenant Single Pigeon. He's a lot like you.
So good. So good. Okay. Trivia. George and Paul Simon played this song during a pre-taping for SNL in 76.
Yes. I've never seen it. I've got the recording they did of, oh, fuck. What is this? Here Comes the Sun. Why can't I think of what they do there? And they do a Paul Simon song and a George Harrison song.
It would make sense. It's that song. I forget too, my friend. Yeah. I forget too, but it'll be there.
TJ is correct. George Harrison and Paul Simon appeared together on SNL in 1976. They played Here Comes the Sun, and then they closed with a beautiful rendition of Homeward Bound.
Every day is an endless stream of cigarettes and magazines. Ooh. And each town looks the same to me, the movies and the factories, and every stranger's face I see reminds me that I long to be homeward bound. I wish I was homeward bound. Home, where my thoughts are sleeping, home, where my music's playing, home, where my love lies waiting silently for me.
Yeah, the next track on side one is called Who Can See It? And, this one also has kind of a jealous guy feeling. I start to get I get a little dragged down by the ballads from this point forward. Especially, we've been on quite a ride so far, Tony. We start optimistic, right? We start optimistic, then we get bitter, then we get introspective, then we get optimistic again, and now we're slowing the tempo down. This one isn't necessarily for me.
I only ask, but what I feel should not be denied me now, as it's been and I've seen my life belongs to me. My love belongs to who can see.
It actually reminds me a bit of Breath Away from Heaven from Cloud 9 in its structure.
She can move your soul without you knowing. She can take the breath away from heaven.
This one doesn't really click with me. It's certainly a pretty song, but not a favorite of mine.
This one evokes a lot of emotion out of me. I really hear there's like an anguish about this song. There's a few of these songs that feel like prayers, and this would be like a sad prayer. I quite like it.
Wow.
I guess it's autobiographical. It's kind of about him basically like, it's kind of like when the astronauts went to the moon and then they have to come back down to Earth.
Didn't happen, Lib.
Oh, you know who thought that was George's buddy, Swami AJ, man. That was another one of his views.
Swami, you're a racist conspiracy theorist, you fucking Swami.
Right. AJ Swami's bad news, in my opinion. I don't know if the estate is going to sue me about this, but dude, check out his views. They're not cool. No, but you know, like when basically like he was a Beatle and now like, I don't know. How do you navigate the world as a human being after you've been essentially to the moon and back? There's this weird, like, it's almost like it's his My Way in a way.
Yes, especially the way he's singing it. And I don't love My Way.
No, but I get you. I don't know. There's something about this song I really like. And I think it's the weird chords, again, augmented,
Yes.
diminished. I like the guitar. It's through the Leslie speaker. It sounds like Abbey Road guitar. I think it's a really great vocal performance from George, who doesn't get a lot of credit for vocal performances. Simon Legg puts it this way: who can see it as a plea for understanding from a private man living his life in public? I hear George saying, like, just let me be who I am. You know, I experienced all this craziness, gave my nervous system, right? The famous quote. Just let me be me. He also thought Roy Orbison would do a good job of this song.
Yes, that's right. It's kind of it does have a bit of an Orbison feel to it.
How come the Wilburys didn't cover Who Can See It?
And how come referees don't call traveling on the Wilburys no more?
How come the ref blew the whistle on Richard Dent? I want to hear Richard Dent say ass.
How come the Bears shuffling crew is doing it for you and not for me? Well, I'm a victim too.
Yeah.
We are the Bears, shuffling crew, shutting on down, doing it for TJ.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
we got to talk about the fucking time signature on this record. It is bonkers. It's cuckoo.
Yes.
I'll never be able to figure it out. Thank God I wasn't the drummer on this. Keltner, good job on you. Keltner doing math rock. So according to the internet, it shifts from 4/4. Okay, gotcha. To 6/4. Okay. To 5/8. That's a time signature I've never played. Not sure I knew it existed. I've heard of 5/4, 5/8 with brief portions of 5/4 and 3/4. Like, wow, this song's crazy. But yet, I love, this is something he did on, I forget the song on All Things Must Pass, but there's this like lyrical vocal hopping around from lily pad to lily pad, like the way he's able to hop around the meter of this song. It's like Happiness is a Warm Gun. There's all this craziness going on, but it sounds like a cohesive song to me.
Are you thinking of I'd Have You Anytime?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yes. It's hard for me to remember his titles because they're all 17 words long. But
Except as Weird Al saying, this song is just 6 words
except for
long.
that one. Except for that one.
He didn't write it.
Yeah. Some people think that this song would have benefited from the Phil Spector treatment, but I disagree.
I think the song would have benefited from Mr. Kite. You know what I mean? Guess who's topping the bill now, buddy?
Are you talking about the horse? Are you talking about...
Are you talking about the horse?
Wait, are you talking about the horse?
Who's talking about the horse? Does anyone know this code?
And no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed.
And of course, Henry the horse dances the waltz.
TJ, this is one of my favorite songs on the record, if not my favorite.
I'm impressed you love it so much. This is just one that didn't connect. I don't hate this song, but I heard the connection to Breath Away from Heaven, and it didn't allow me to really fall for the song. But I'll give it another chance now that I've heard you talk endlessly about it. I get it. You like it. Great.
4/4, 6/4, 5/8, 5/4, 3/4.
What are the most diverse basketball players of all time? Because height doesn't matter, and neither do feet or hand size. Hand Sanny.
Hello? I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller.
Off the rails. Should we get to the title track?
Sure.
Well, TJ, we've arrived at the title track. Living in the Material World. I think it's the longest song on the record, clocking in at 5.5 minutes. It's the only rocker on the record. Wouldn't you say? I don't think any of the other songs rock.
And this one here now is kind of punk. It's got kind of a, Ramones energy.
Yeah, when the drummer called in sick.
Yeah, you're right. And this does rock. It's a great song. I love what this song says. I love the way it's performed. I mean, we got to get Nicky Hopkins for the 7th Beatle bracket because his contribution to this record is absolutely incredible. When he says John and Paul in the Material World, he's got the line about we started out quite poor, then got Richie on the tour.
Yeah.
And then that the great Ringo drum fill.
Met them all here in the material world. John and Paul here in the material world. Though he started out quite poor, he got Richie on the tour. Got caught up in the material world.
Yes.
Is haunting and beautiful.
Yeah, I dig this song. This is another favorite of mine. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I love that. So George name checks by name John, Paul, and Richie, all three other Beatles on a record. John name checks Paul on I Found Out.
I see religion from Jesus to Paul.
He also name checks himself on Hold On John.
Hold on, John. John, hold on. It's gonna be all right.
And the Beatles and God.
I don't believe in Beatles.
In early 1970, he doesn't do it by name, but obviously Ringo's talking about John, Paul, and George.
All three of them, a verse for each.
He's a long-haired, cross-legged guitar picker. His long-legged lady in the garden picking daisies for his soup.
And I know Paul's written songs about John, but is there anything in Paul's catalog that does just an overt reference to a single Beatle or, the Beatles? I'm trying to think. Does he ever have a song where he says Johnny? I thought he had a song where he talked about Johnny or something like that. Am I...
Every album Paul's released since Press to Play, he says, was inspired by the spirit of Sgt. Pepper. It's in the.
The Bee Gees movie, right? The spirit on VHS.
What was I think this is in the You Never Give Me Your Money book, where they talk about how Paul's PR person at the time was like, driving rains, we got the spirit of the White House. Paul certainly, the song Friends to Go, he said, was inspired by George, but that wasn't overt.
I don't know how long the storm is gonna last. If we're gonna carry on, I'll be waiting on the other side till the friends are gone.
And he's got a beautiful duet with Ringo called When I Walk With You. That's a little maudlin, but it's a song he and Ringo sing together. It's a duet. I forget which Ringo is on Ringo 2012, but it's lovely.
When I walk with you, when I talk with you, everything will be fine.
Obviously, there's Dear Friend, there's
John,
coded,
yeah, of course.
the coded songs and stuff. but nothing overt. I'm talking about these overt references where he's saying like John and Paul in the material world. The walrus was Paul. I've never heard Paul get that specific about any other Beatle, I don't think.
I haven't either. And Tony, along those lines, we talked about that line, John and Paul in the material world. We started out quite poor. We got Richie on the tour. Then he sings, we got caught up in the material world. And then it shifts right away to the Indian moment, which is one of the more gripping moments on a Beatles song. To me, it's on par with John saying, I don't believe in Beatles, and the music stops. And he comes in cold with I just believe in me. He talks about how the Beatles dissolved, got caught up in the material world, and the next beat, he's clearing his head with Indian music.
Yeah.
And it is a stunning commentary that I don't think I'd ever heard in that context until this research for this.
Yeah, no, that's a great moment. And I know exactly what you mean. To me, that harkens to the moment on the Brady Bunch when the Silver Platters perform Sunshine Day and Bobby gets the middle eight psychedelic part.
Go and dig the sunshine.
Yeah, that part.
Going the same. You hear me calling your name. That's a great song, too.
Yeah. Yeah, the Brady Six, the Silver Platters, whatever they're called, depending on which episode. They had some good songs.
You and I have been doing a Beatles podcast since the pandemic largely began, and we've yet to mention the Brady Bunch cover of Love Me Do from their album Do Re Mi.
You're right. And we will continue to not talk about that.
Let's not drop it here. We're going to tease it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about it. It'll be a whole episode.
Stick around. Keep listening. Like and subscribe. One day we'll talk about Brady Bunch Love Me Do. I like this song a lot. Yes. The one thing that I find a little goofy is they take that extra beat for when George name checks Lord Sri Krishna and that little.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Brady Bunch.
It's cute.
He calls it a comedy song in I Me Mine. He says it's a comedy song with a few jokes in case you didn't notice, exclamation point. So,
yes. And
that's him referencing John, Paul, and Ringo. And he also makes reference to that little flourish, the flute flourish bit too, I think.
Flute flourish.
Flute flourish.
New from Nabisco.
New from Nabisco. Find it over the counter at a pharmacy near you. Oh, and it also ends like an Elvis song with the whole like
the wind up.
Yeah. That's cool, man. And what a great way to end the side with like a note to the king, you know?
Yeah. And Tony, yes. And right before that Elvis wind up is just a simple George, a rhythm guitar riff. Chicka, 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 da, 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 da. It's just a simple riff that sounds so clear and clean right before the ham-fisted Elvis Vegas
ham-fisted
build. That's what it is. They're not serving this tune for Passover, motherfuckers. That's a ham-fisted ending.
It does come out of nowhere. I will say, like, I wasn't expecting the Elvis ending on this.
Yeah, and it makes for a great side closer. That Jim Horn playing that sax bit.
Yeah, great solo. I love this. I love the honking sax solo.
Yeah, man. The Elephant's Memory guy can't sniff Jim Horn's.
Whoa! Wow.
Can I take that? Let's keep it and bleep it. I love the song too, Tony, and we don't get too in depth with this conversation, but this song really did inspire one of the biggest hits of the 80s. Madonna's Living in the Material World. Madonna and George at the time, they had a relationship that was beginning with Shanghai Surprise. Madonna was involved in the Handmade Films world where George was producing that with Sean Penn and Madonna.
You're crazy, you know that?
What did you say, Mr. Wasey? I can't hear you.
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer presents Sean Penn, Madonna, Shanghai Surprise.
Shanghai Surprise. Very hot item.
this song was influenced by the title of George Harrison's song. And in a way, Madonna's also commenting satirically in her own way, in an 80s way.
Right.
That's a satirical song as well. So it's interesting. There's a direct connection both to this song and George, and of course the relationship Madonna and George Harrison had. Which was not always a good one, by the way. I don't think George liked Madonna or Sean Penn very much.
I know nothing. I know very little about that.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about the whole Shanghai Surprise, Handmaid's Tale connection.
Kind of what it was. And then Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and then Handmaid's Tale got a little too real.
Well, George wanted Madonna to wear that red dress with the bonnet. I think that's... Because, he learned when Patty started modeling again, his life unraveled. So, got to control. That's what AC Swami said. Got to control the woman.
Come on down to AJ Swami's, where it's Control a Woman Wednesdays. AJ Swami's. All right. You flip the record and you get the Lord loves the one, parentheses, that loves the Lord, close parentheses. Again, an unwieldy title. This is another one inspired by his buddy AC. Spiritual song. George says, his life is an example to us all. Most people are struggling for fame or fortune or wealth or position, and really none of that is important because in the end, death will take it all away. Because after George died, he ceased being famous. So what you're saying is, death took it away, and now you can't play. Death took it away.
No, but I think so death takes it away. You're reincarnated as a piece of grass, and you're like, hey, man, I'm just a blade of grass. But in another lifetime, I wrote Old Brown Shoes. So, and I got to bang Ringo's wife. So, but, blades of grass can't think. So scratch that. I'm not sure. I'm not spiritual. I'm not sure what this song's about.
No, but you say blades of grass, and I think blaze of glory. Jovi, weeknights.
Jovi. This song feels preachy to me. This is the one where I was, as a listener, I'm like, all right, man, what am I at church? Get me out of here.
Well, first of all, Hosier, Take Me to Church. Topical reference, hits from 2010.
Take me to church, I work like a dog at the shrine of your life. I'll tell you my sins and you can sharpen your knife.
TJ knows songs from the 2010s alert. Yes, I've heard Happy. I've seen Despicable Me too. You want to like the song even more? I believe George stole this song from the Rolling Stones' Let It Bleed. While the chord progression's different, you can lay Let It Bleed over the song and vice versa fucking perfectly.
Say what I'm doing here, I hope to see much clearer. Living in the material world.
I didn't hear that. I hear that like Mama Told Me Not to Come vibe with the electric piano.
Mike Pence song. The Mike Pence abstinence program. Mama Told Me Not to Come. I love the tout production, the sound. The lyrics drive me a little cuckoo. I love the sound of this song. I love the feel. I love the sound of it.
I can get that. I can get behind that. Yeah. Some people have thought I was giving them a telling off, or that I was implying that I was holier than thou in regards to these preachy lyrics. I do not exclude myself and write a lot of things in order to make myself remember. That's George, I believe, in I Me Mine. Yes, I did a lot of my research using the I Me Mine book.
It's a great book. Even though he says so little about things, he also somehow says so much.
And that's George, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's George. Great book.
I like this book so much. And that's Jim Horn on the Barry sax, speaking to the music. It's kind of a Savoy truffle feel at times with the berry sap.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I kind of dig that. Yeah. Opens up side 2. Okay. Then we get Be Here Now. Yes, we've talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
This is a very dreamy song. You know, it's got the sitar drone in there. It harkens back to maybe the 66, 67, that kind of a thing. Blue Jay Way a little bit. No drums on it. Or are there? I didn't hear any drums.
Did you hear the Keith Moon take?
Oh, yeah, the Lost Weekend. Because I remember not being as enamored with this song when it was played by Ian Astbury, the guy from The Cult,
Yes.
during the Danny's concert for his dad, the tribute concert. What's that called again?
I can't remember. It's not Concert for George, but it's whatever Danny
George
did for him.
Fest.
George
Yeah,
Fest, yes.
yeah. I'm getting them all mixed up.
Which now George sued them. It's got to be called the Fest for George fans. I don't think Beatles was sued. It just is funny.
The Fest for
We love
George
you, Lapinos
fans.
family, if you're listening.
That's so good. Yeah, man. So I remember being like, oh, this is kind of like I would go get a beer during this song because it's too sleepy for me or whatever, especially in the vibe of like, hey, party celebration. But this is a part of him. This was like probably him at his most, God, I would say like this is almost like closest to a song on Brainwashed, maybe. I don't know.
Remember now.
You know what it feels like? It feels like the morning after the inner light.
Right? Yeah.
I kind of connected, as I've said many times, that's my favorite George Indian excursion. The major key stuff just connects with my Paul heart so much more than Within You, Without You, and Love to You. Like, I recognize the beauty and structure of those songs, but I prefer the melodic stuff. And this one feels like a mantra. Not many lyrics. I love the line, why try to live a life that isn't real? And when he sings that, Tony, it becomes these diminished, almost discordant chords. It's kind of underscoring his point in a very George way. When he starts to sing about why be someone else, the song changes. It gets darker and diminished, and it feels like the natural elevation of only a Northern song.
Oh, wow.
Musically, to an extent.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, musically, because, yeah, the discordant bit. Yeah, that's funny, man. I would never have, thrown those two songs in the same basket. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
This is one that I always found to be a bit of I'm not going to pretend. I never loved the song. The song to me always kind of felt like a bit of a snoozer in general. I like the upbeat George stuff more than a lot of the George ballads. Now, my favorite song of all time is Blow Away, which is a George ballad with a beat. I think it's one of the reasons I love Blow Away so much is it's an upbeat, ballad. Give me these goddamn upbeat numbers. It's so good.
Well, it was written in bed. It was like he was falling asleep when the melody came to him. So, yeah, I think that adds to the whole idea of the dreamy quality of this song and the drone, the sitar drone, the snoring element that you were talking about, the snoozing.
I think all told, I'm going to appreciate the song so much more, and it kind of feels like an understated George classic the more I really think about what he's trying to say here. It's beautifully written, arranged, and performed.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. Now, I love this next song.
It's my least favorite.
It's crazy. Try Some, Buy Some. This song is crazy, and that's why I love it. This is a haunting song. I find it to be strange.
Yes, what the fuck?
It was written, so this recording, this is the only song produced by Phil Spector. So it dates back to February of 71, first recorded for Ronnie Spector. In fact, she put it out. They put it out as a single, and it didn't do well, 77. And Ronnie herself was confused by this song. It's a strange song.
Yeah, it's not good. George wrote a clunker. I don't care if Ronnie's singing it. I don't care if it's Ronnie Specter or Ron Santo. Should have been in the hall while he was alive to see it.
I love this song.
I don't like this tune. And he can't sing it because he's singing in her key. I keep thinking,
well, I mean,
it's
that's
too high
debatable.
for him, Tony.
That's debatable because she was like, I don't know what key. It was a bad key for her. And the stories I heard about the recording session for Ronnie's version they're pretty rough. It was like she was just in a vocal booth alone and would do a take. And then Phil Spector would be in the control room telling like rock and roll stories for like 20 minutes and no talk back to her at all. So she would do a take and then sit there in silence without a cell phone or a book, presumably, and just sit there in silence alone in this vocal booth for 20 minutes until he said like, all right, let's do another one. You know,
isolation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ronnie Spector standing there.
So why do I like this song? It was written by George on the organ. And so he's able to come up again with weird chords. It's all these diminished chords. It's all these like augmented add nines or whatever you want to call it. Here's what it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm embracing my fears. Like there's a moment when the song turns with the orchestration, the Phil Spector, you've got Leon Russell on piano, Jim Gordon on drums, the Pete Ham is on acoustic guitar. Carl Radel might be playing bass on this one.
From Clapton's band.
Right, from Derek and the Dominoes and all that. And All Things Must Pass as well.
Yep.
When they go off, it sounds like it's like you're on a carousel ride and everything's fine. And then it starts to like do the Willy Wonka thing where you're going down the dark tunnel and a chicken gets its head cut off. And I feel like this song is taking you to the end of your life and it's fucking scary and you're not ready. And I don't know what, but I'm drawn to that strangeness, I suppose.
That's so funny. I love your interpretation. Mine is, this is a terrible song, right? This is not guilty level. Like, that means a lot if you've got trouble.
First of all, Not Guilty is a pretty good song. I'll defend if you've got trouble to my grave, to my try some, buy some, carousel to hell. That means a lot I could do without. But the others, anyway. No, right. Is it like, do I think this should have been a hit? No. But I'm intrigued by this song. I don't think it's a bad song, but I think it's an adventurous. I think it's an adventure and they got lost. That's what it is. I think they got lost on an adventure.
Let's play this game. I Dig Love or Try Some, Buy Some?
Try Some, Buy Some.
I have I Dig Love over Try Some, Buy Some. A Bit More of You or Try Some, Buy Some?
Ooh. A Bit More of You.
Yeah, see? It's just nice when it fades back up. Okay, I mean, to each their own. And I'm not, I didn't see this the same way. I'm kind of always annoyed by this tune. I think it's a weak side in George Harrison's catalog, this side too.
I'm not going to begrudge you that opinion. I'm not going to try to convert you. Yeah, I get it. It's a weird song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This next one is another one that I think Nicky Hopkins and Jim Horn and the string arrangement help save. It starts slow and then builds and builds and builds and kind of becomes a great George song along the journey. And it's The Day the World Gets Round, which initially it's always like, yeah, do I really want to? And it's arranged so nicely and builds so nicely. I end up really liking this tune.
The Day the World Gets Round. I didn't know George was a flat earther, but AC Swami, had some views and Yeah, the day the world gets around to understanding where it is, using all it's found to help each other hand in hand. So it starts with this, it's kind of in reference to Bangladesh and how he was able to like do the thing and get the money and do the benefit. But then it goes right into the problems afterwards.
Right.
Losing so much ground, killing each other hand in hand. He's mad at the governments. He's frustrated that the governments have the resources to take care of these people. These problems don't need to exist. And this is very relevant.
Boris Yeltsin. Mr. Bush.
I mean, and this is relevant today. Like, I mean, if you walk around anywhere these days, like the homelessness thing is a real thing, and it's crazy, and it's insane that we have this increasing wealth gap between those who have and those who haven't. And it's, I don't know. It's the same. Yeah. The day the world gets round to it, man, let's leave it at that. I don't want to throw any cynical lack of hope out there, because maybe we will come around. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope so. It's certainly not trending in that way, but you know, Tony, I don't know if you're like this or not, but as far as I'm concerned, Tony, I will always be hoping.
Yeah.
You will always. Most underrated song in Paul's catalog. It's
I like
the most.
one.
It's such a great tune.
I like that tune.
Yeah.
This is another one he gets criticized for sounding like he's on a high horse. Dale Allison, a theologian, also a biographer, comes to his defense. George nowhere claims to have arrived. He is rather always a pilgrim, always on the road, surrounding himself with a trusted coven of gnomes. Oh, wait, that last part I made up. But,
but it's metaphorically.
Metaphorically.
And, you know, as the great Jeff Tweedy sings, theologians don't know nothing about my soul.
Theologians don't know nothing about my soul.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. It's a good message, though. It's a good message. And it's a real message. Like getting into what you were talking about earlier with that, how this is his Plastic Ono band. He's talking about an event that happened in his life. He's not being as, you know, like prosy about it. There's some poetry flying through here. But he's saying basically like, yeah, what the fuck? Why am I the guy that has to do the work, you know? You guys who are in charge of things. How is this not getting done?
And it's sad that it's gotten worse 50 years later, not better, arguably.
Yeah. But I still have hope.
You know, Tony, I will always be callback coping. If it didn't work the first time, is it a callback? We'll talk about the next on Comedy Debates.
And that is all for the Untitled Beatles podcast today.
No, Tony, it's a song title, and the better version is by Phil Collins and Genesis. You know, remember that song?
Genesis. I like
Just
Genesis.
when I thought I was going all right.
Oh, you're right, TJ. That is all. That's the name of the last song on Living in the Material World, celebrating 50 years on the planet this month. Yeah, it ends with another plaintive kind of heart tugger, in my opinion. These songs do evoke some emotion. This is another one that I quite like.
Me too.
Again, his use of augmented chords. I believe he was up for a Grammy for use of most augmented chords on an album. It's another one that you can also either choose to interpret secularly, as I do, or spiritually if you're not me.
You know, Tony, even aside, I know you're not always the biggest lyrics guy. And
Yeah.
sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. Oddly, if the song really hooks me musically, I care about the lyrics less.
Yeah.
This one, even erasing the lyrics, we talked in the Red Rose Speedway episode about how the Beatles fit in the rock culture of 73. I think that we talked about House of the Holy, Dark Side of the Moon. And for some reason, musically, this song has a Pink Floyd feel to me.
Huh.
If you even take some of the lyrics,
yeah.
I'd love to hear an instrumental version of this, but the arrangement and the playing and the space of it, it's the most Pink Floyd-y sounding George song, I think.
That's wild. I like that a lot. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the credit maybe goes to that electric piano, Gary Wright.
Yeah.
I love that electric piano. To me, that really makes this this song for me.
That is all I'm living. Please let me love you more. That is all.
His falsetto here, his vocal is beautiful. I don't in total love the Sinatra-y ballady singing on this album. This song is an exception to that. I think his singing and his phrasing in this is great and really underscores his message.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Sinatra because Andy Williams covered this with help from Nicky Hopkins, Klaus Voormann, and Jim Keltner.
Trying to say what's been said before, and that is all I want to give my love to you.
In the same room? Was that like
I think they did it on Zoom.
No, I mean, is that like when Bono did Sinatra's duets album?
Right. The duets album, that thing. That was AI. They were ahead of their time. I want to say yes, in the same room. I don't know. Maybe they laid down the backing track and Andy Williams came in on another day. I don't know. We'll save that for an upcoming episode of Untitled.
Or we'll
Beatles
do it
podcast.
live.
We'll do it live here at Google. One thing I did want to say, again, augmented chords, funny time signatures. The middle 8 is in 3/8 on this, so it's kind of like these. It's got the feeling of a cut measure. It's a good song.
I love how it ends with an acoustic guitar pattern that doesn't resolve. I don't know if it's a suspended fourth, but it ends with this weird pattern that doesn't resolve, and it makes me think the album may be fake news. It's not all. Maybe George is coming back.
I love that ending too. I have that in my notes too. How I love it's another little unexpected turn. The end it ends rather unceremoniously. It's like and then we're gonna go here, and it's like
it's not all.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Fake news. Now I understand what you mean. That is all. That is not all.
He ends open, not closed. Again, just like he does with Give Me Love. The first song of Optimism ends open. The album ends open. Unless you have the 2006 copy, in which case, which is lovely, the vinyl goes right into Deep Blue.
Yes, Deep Blue and then Miss O'Dell.
Yeah.
Songs that we've previously covered on our 70s solo B-sides album.
Well, let's talk about those two songs for a second, Tony, because when I heard, again, hearing the vinyl in this 06 reissue, and I think the 2014 CD and remaster also has those same bonus tracks.
Yeah, one of them's got Bangladesh on there too, but yeah.
Yes, I think the 2014 added Bangladesh, yes, although I don't know that they're on the albums, but they are in the streaming and the CD. There's 4 songs on here I'd swap out with Deep Blue. And I know Deep Blue goes back a ways. That was the B-side to Bangladesh, the single.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
But I love it. I think it's better than 3 or 4 of the songs on here.
Yeah. I know what you mean. To me, I don't know. To me, it feels like a B-side, and to me, it doesn't feel like it would fit. The only thing I would replace it with the blues. What is it? Sorry. Sue Me, Sue You Blues. I would replace Miss O'Dell with that, though I don't think it would fit. I think it fits just as well as Sue Me, Sue You Blues fits on this otherwise spiritual focused record.
Well, I'm talking Deep Blue. I don't know that I put Miss Odell on the record proper, but in terms of songs like that I love, yeah, Deep Blue has always evoked a joy for me that not a lot of the songs on Living in the Material World do.
When the sunshine is not enough to make me feel bright, it's got me suffering in the darkness. It's so easy come by on the roadside. One long lifetime. It's got me deep blue. Oh, I'm deep blue.
And then the studio version of Bangladesh, it's good. I like this song. I know it's. I mean, the lyrics are what they are. They're very straightforward. They remind me of song poems. Those records that like Citizens would send in poems. Hollywood needs poems for hit songs, and then Citizens would write these. It's a whole genre, TJ.
I've
that
never
I collect these.
Heard of that.
Well, next road trip, man, I'm gonna play you a bunch of them. They're amazing.
Yes, please.
They are fucking amazing because they're so weird.
Then wait a sec. Then can I play you the soundtrack to Police Academy 4: Citizens on Patrol?
Well, there you go. There you go. I should say Leon Russell is the one who suggested on Bangladesh that George do an intro to, give people a heads up on what's going on. Why is this song happening? But I much prefer the live version from Concert at Bangladesh. I think it just has a better energy than the studio version.
It totally does. At the same time, the fact that a song about Bangladesh became a pretty big hit is another weird cog in the Beatles' legacy and story.
Although I couldn't feel the pain, I knew I had to try. Now I'm asking home, help us save some lives. Bangladesh, Bangladesh. But so many people are dying fast. It sure looks like a mess. I've never seen such distress.
The Stones aren't singing a song about Bangladesh, and Helen Reddy's not singing a song. The 70s people who topped the charts, Elton John. George Harrison had a hit with the studio version of Bangladesh. It is... who else could do that but a Beatle? That's what's so impressive to me about the Beatles' varied career that nobody else has been able to approach in terms of sheer genius output. I'll never understand it. That's what keeps me coming back.
Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah, it's huge. And I love going through it, through the minutia, the deep dish. I hope you enjoyed this deep dish pizza of George Harrison's Material World. Whether or not the pizza is something you actually ordered and are enjoying with your hands, teeth, tongue, and mouth, and the sense, your olfactory senses and your tastes of smell, or if it's a spiritual pizza, a mystic pizza, if you will. Shout out to Lily Taylor, who's a wonderful actor.
Shout out to Lily Tomlin.
Shout out to Lily Wachowski.
Shout out to Chris Witaski, friend of the program.
Shout out to Chris. Yeah. I actually just hung out with Chris. He's going to be on the Bear season 2.
Oh, I brag about celebrities.
Oh, yeah. Well, here we are, name checking in the material world. Who's your most famous friend? Write us a review. Tell us who your most famous friend is. Like and subscribe. Get us on the Patreon if you're feeling less material. If you want to give your material world to our material world. There you go. There's the spin. And then we'll ship out a copy of Kenny Rogers' Gambler LP, sealed, brand new. Be the 10th caller right now.
Yeah, call us. Can you sign it?
I will sign it. I will sign it as Kenny Rogers, and I'll sign it as our producer, Casey Baker. Thank you, Casey, for producing this record.
Where have you been, Casey?
Casey Baker produces the show.
He's been been in the salt mines of editing while I was working on that show.
Yeah, and I was getting my swole on for summer. Enjoyed producing this episode while I'm pumping. Tony, in the last month, we've done 2 50th anniversary records, Living in the Material World and Red Rose Speedway. Pick one.
Oh,
thus far.
Boy,
Let's
that's
say it
hard.
on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Red Rose Speedway.
Yeah, why did I just pick Red Rose Speedway though? That was
It's a better complete album than Living in the Material World might have some better individual songs. Red
Yeah.
Rose Speedway is just the better album.
Huh.
There, I said it.
Yeah, well, let's think about that one. Yeah, okay. I just feel guilty saying that.
Well, why don't you be not guilty?
Well, because that's not a good song, TJ. That's a terrible song. You said it.
On the road to Mandalay.
Untitled Beatles Podcast. Like and subscribe.